Why didn't Napoleon just try to escape to like a different country, to like America or something?
Now, this is interesting. What happens after Waterloo is very interesting. He gets back to Paris. At first, he's for standing and fighting in Paris. But then it becomes clear that Napoleon's parliament has turned on him. They want rid of him. And one of the things that swings it is that he cuts a deal with the royalist agents and with what's now a new provisional government in Paris. Give me a false passport, a Bourbon government passport, and let me get to the port. Fine. But you have to go under escort. You know, you're going as a prisoner, effectively. Escort. The Prussians have a contract out on you. He's got Prussian cavalry out looking for you, and they're going to kill you. Gotta go. So he and his brother Joseph decide, right, okay, let's take the Allied offer. Let's take the passports. Go. They have to go through dangerous country through the west of France, but his troops there are still loyal to him. They protect him. The story is complicated. The story keeps changing. First of all, we'll let you go to a major port, Nantes. You know, there'll be a ship there. You can sort something out, probably America. And it keeps changing. Bordeaux. No, you're not going to Bordeaux. You take it to a tiny little port, right down in the south, north of Bordeaux, but in a very remote corner of the west coast, where anything could happen. Now, there are a couple of ships. He says to Joseph, one of them's going to America. You go. You wait for me. Joseph goes. The ship sails anyway. Joseph gets to America. What changed Napoleon's mind not to go with Joseph? I don't know. One of the reasons I think he chose not to was that he might have endangered Joseph. Because they're traveling under assumed names, and they could turn up together. Somebody might recognize Napoleon, but if Joseph goes their own, nobody's going to recognize him. Well, it'd be very unlucky if anybody did. And right enough, Joseph gets safely to America. Lucien travels separately through the Channel ports, and he gets to America too. But there was a chance he could have got to the States. He chose not to take that chance, possibly to protect Joseph. He turns himself over to the British, says, here I am. Now I'm depending on your sense of decency. The British may not know this time you're going to Saint Helena. And they stand on it.
Because the two brothers of Napoleon, how was their life in America? Did they live a decent life?
Oh yeah, they had a great time. Joseph particularly. Joseph became a sort of a gentleman farmer in New Jersey and in Philadelphia, and he made quite a lot of money, and he became a great benefactor of the opera in Philadelphia, a great benefactor of the American Philosophical Society. He eventually decided to come back to Europe with the revolutions of 1830 because there were stirrings, and I think he got, his ambition got the better of him. Came back, and he died of a seizure. That's what we call a stroke nowadays in Genoa on his way back. Again, Lucien lived out a pretty good existence in the States. He eventually went to Rome, because this is one of the odd things about Napoleon. There was very little personal animus towards him when you knew him personally, although there was a lot of political animus. And the Pope, Pius VII, who Napoleon is imprisoned at one point, said about the family, no, they can come and live in Rome. So Napoleon's mum settles in Rome, his mother. That's fine. And now that they wouldn't let the sisters join her. They wouldn't let them come. But Jerome, the youngest Bonaparte, he came to Rome. And Lucien came back from the States to Rome, lived out his life there. And again, did quite well, although he was a journalist. Jerome, the youngest brother, much maligned by Napoleon. I mean, he married the ruler Baden, and she stayed loyal to him. He was never allowed to go back there. They wouldn't have him. But he lived in Rome, lived long enough to see his nephew Napoleon III become emperor. And in the early years, he'd been an older man by then. In the early years of the Second Empire, played quite an influential role behind the scenes. He was an advisor, but very much a private advisor, a good one too, sensible man. And that's what happened to him.
Because I can imagine the amount of wealth they used to have, like back in France. Do you think they brought any of that back to America? Or did they start all over again
Oh, they started all over again and they did well. In fact, Caroline and Murat, their two sons, made their way to America. They did well for themselves. They settled in Tallahassee in Florida and became very prominent. And two of the grandsons fought as cavalry commanders in the Confederate Army in the Civil War.
Oh, wow.